truthfulness of the promised Messiah ﷺ in the court case against him. Once, the promised Messiah ﷺ was accused by Dr. Henry Martin Clark for attempted murder in a very serious court case that could have led to life imprisonment or even the death penalty. Many opponents, including Maulvi Muhammad Hussain Badalvi, testified against him, and the evidence appeared strong. However, the promised Messiah ﷺ stated that Allah had already informed him through revelation that he would be acquitted, and in the end, he was declared innocent. As the case progressed, many believed it would be sent to a higher court, but Captain Douglas suspected it was fabricated and ordered a fresh investigation by Captain Lee Marchand. During questioning, Abdul Hamid eventually confessed that he had been forced to give false testimony and admitted that the promised Messiah ﷺ had never instructed him to murder Dr. Clark. Captain Lee Marchand informed the Deputy Commissioner that the truth had been uncovered. The court then cleared the promised Messiah ﷺ of all charges, and Captain Douglas personally congratulated him on his acquittal. The promised Messiah ﷺ said that it felt as though the whole world had turned against him, but in such times it is ultimately God who comes to the help of his true servant. Lawyers awestruck by his truthfulness. The lawyer who represented the promised Messiah ﷺ later said that, unlike many others he had defended, the promised Messiah ﷺ never compromised on truthfulness. When advised to give a prepared statement containing inaccuracies for legal benefit, the promised Messiah ﷺ refused, saying that while worldly courts might allow falsehood, the court of God does not. He declared that pleasing God through truth was more important than avoiding punishment, and that he relied only on God for help. His honesty and steadfastness ultimately led to his acquittal. The promised Messiah's ﷺ's lawyers advised him to deny knowing Abdul Hamid in order to avoid conviction in the false attempted murder case. However, the promised Messiah ﷺ refused to lie or even give a misleading answer, stating that Abdul Hamid had visited Qadian and he did in fact know him. Despite fears that this truthful admission would lead to conviction, the promised Messiah ﷺ remained steadfast on the truth and was ultimately acquitted. Testimony of non-Ahmadis about his adherence to the truth. Many people, including non-Muslims, recognized the truthfulness and piety of the promised Messiah ﷺ. A Hindu man who had known him since childhood said he had always found him truthful and righteous. Likewise, the promised Messiah ﷺ's father trusted his honesty so deeply that when the promised Messiah ﷺ said he had already been employed by God, his father fully believed him. His Holiness, may Allah be his helper, also mentioned a traveller who, after meeting the promised Messiah ﷺ in person despite widespread opposition against him, immediately realized he could not be false and accepted Ahmadiyyat. A man who had heard strong opposition against the promised Messiah ﷺ initially believed he must be false. However, after reading the promised Messiah ﷺ's book, Izala Eroham, and later meeting him in person, he became convinced of his truthfulness and accepted Ahmadiyyat. His Holiness, may Allah be his helper, also quoted the promised Messiah ﷺ, who said that truthfulness becomes a light that protects a person from hardship, and he prayed that may Allah enable everyone to realize this reality and remain steadfast upon the loftiest standards of truthfulness.